The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off Grand Champion May Day, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time Best in Show and two-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion El Rod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off Grand Champion May Day, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time Best in Show and two-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion El Rod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off Grand Champion May Day, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time Best in Show and two-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion El Rod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion Mayday, the dog of the year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, 2-time Best in Show and 2-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion El Rod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion Mayday, the dog of the year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, 2-time Best in Show and 2-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion El Rod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all-out liars. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion Mayday, the dog of the year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, 2-time Best in Show and 2-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion El Rod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
What up? What up? Big shout out to all my people out there in the Shark Tank. Big shout out to all my people out there in the tank. What up, y'all? Guess what time it is? It's hot. No, it's Talk Shit Tuesday. Get my days all mixed up and everything. Big shout out to all my people out there on the back street. Big shout out to all my people out there in the Shark Tank. Let me see who I got here. CT, Constant Trauma Kennels. What up, fam? Yo, yo, yo. Big shout out to Bloodthirst, #1, aka Havoc 360. What up, fam? Yo, my man, Mr. John Johnson. I see you, fam. Big shout out to my man, Double M Desbo with the bite down and shake that like button. What up, fam? Yo, my man, Mr. Paul Johnson in the house. What up, fam? DB03, aka Ben. What up, fam? Big shout out to my man, Quick FC7. What up, fam? Yo, big shout out and big salute to my man, the Rabbit Man in the house. What up, fam? Hey, fellas, appreciate everybody for coming out with us on this weekday, late night Tuesday. Big shout out to my man, Mr. Marcel Shepard in the house. What up, fam? You know, after spending many, years dealing with these dogs, it's funny because, I'd be sitting back watching, social media and some of the conversations and shit. And it's like, it's like everybody got it kind of figured out, right? It's just so, one thing is obvious. We have so many different ways of looking at this thing, a lot of different ways when you start talking about these bulldogs. So, which means you have a whole lot of different opinions. But like I said, it's been like that since day one. But there's just certain things from even from back in the day, and even through our years, there's just certain things that just don't ever change. It's like a foundation. Like, remember, they built this game, and like everything else, you got to have what starts out as a game plan, a blueprint. In order to start doing anything, you got to know what you want to do. So we're going to call that like the blueprint. And then once you got the blueprint, the building starts. You got to have the foundation, got to be a strong foundation. Now, this game was built on these certain aspects as we built our yards and everything else that goes along with this game. Remember, once you have the foundation, then you start building the game on the foundation. Now, our founding fathers in this game, they created the foundation. They even created, basically the rules. They were the builders. Remember, they also created the products that we deal with even until today. And the bigger it got, the more people you had that had their way of doing certain things and how they did things. And that's what led to the different bloodlines, the different people that's involved until where it just grew, and it just has grown and has just continuously grown. And that's the good thing that I always look back on it, and because I always, think about when we first started, how we started. And we basically did the same thing that any other dog man would do. You would first have to have the ideal of why you taking this dog, what's going to be your purpose, and where you're going to start at. And I'm always saying the dog makes the papers, but the man / woman makes the dog. So when we keep that, when we be talking about the dogs, we have to keep some of the important factors in mind. It does matter, regardless of the bloodline. It matters when it comes down to the person with the dog. See, the persons with the dog had a lot of influence on the development of the game. Whether they was, new to the game, fresh starters, it was always going to boil down to who's the person with the dog. Because the dog didn't get there on his own. And I see a lot of controversy on, when people are like, oh, they didn't do nothing, or he didn't go into anybody, or things like that. The picking and choosing with some more shit. Pedigrees ain't what they're supposed to be. All the drama has always been around, but we have still been able to survive over the years. So it's not like those things were supposed to kill the game. Because when it all boiled down to it, you're going to still get down to what really mattered. Let's talk about what really matters. Will we really be talking about a dog if it was nothing to talk about? No. That's the first and foremost. If the dog wasn't worthy of talking about, we wouldn't talk about him. Think about all the dogs in history of this game, and there's only certain dogs that we talk about, and there's so many dogs that we never talk about. And that generally changes over time too, though, because, we talk about Daibo after all these years. Red Boy, Jocko, Bully Son, Eli, we still talk about those dogs. But if it doesn't be for the success and the accolades and what history has shown us why we talk about the dogs wouldn't even be relevant. Which takes us to one of the more important parts. Okay, the man with the dog. Pat Patrick, Floyd Boudreaux, Tudor, Kobe. I always start way back there in the back because, when you start way back there in the back, you see how serious this shit is, because look at all the names that we would have to start filling in as we work back into our future. There's a whole lot of names there. And if you really think about it, it's really a whole lot of dogs there. But why do we speak about certain dogs? Because it has to be something that we want to talk about, whether it be the pedigree, whether it be their competition career, whether it be their breeding program, whoever had the dogs, whoever that dog was responsible to, whoever had the dog. Journey is the sole purpose of why we talk about the dogs. Now, we know some dogs went from one person to the next, but most of the time, from what I've read throughout a lot of the history I've read, good dogs wound up in other dogman's hands, and it was up in the responsibility for the person who got the dog the second time around or the third time around. What did they want to add to the process and the success of that dog? Being it already got it's already established itself to where people talk about it. The reason I like to have this conversation because I feel like we can't forget the most important things about when you start dealing with these dogs, being that there's so much that goes into what makes an American Pit Bull Terrier what it has been over the years. That's a learning process in itself. It is a very serious learning process because it's a whole lot of trial and error. Whole lot. And that leaves room for a whole lot of learning and mistakes. So if you don't have that part of your growing process, then you're doing something wrong. Because nobody's ever going to dive into something and not make mistakes. It's always considered a learning process. And I hope through our videos, we get that point across, the learning process. The learning process is so dire to the success of the game only because the dog is nothing without the person, whether it be man or woman. You know, the dog, it will be nothing. So yes, for me, it is very important, you know, to have the right dog. As a man, as a dog man, I got to have the right dog. What if my mind is strictly on just that right there? And it might take me a couple of years to get there. Remember, early in the game, what you might think is the right dog is not the right dog. How will you know? Well, it's new. You're new to the game. Could be like us. We had the right dogs. We just really wasn't the right person to be having the type of dogs that we had in the beginning. So that tells you if we had came into the game knowing just some part of the game, maybe we wouldn't have made the mistakes that we made so early in the game with the good dogs. See, that was something that you only was going to figure out and find out through experience. And that's to me, that's one of the most overlooked points when you start dealing with these dogs, because you got to, you can't undercut, you can't shortcut. The dog is going to represent you because that's the product that you're putting on the table. So whether the dog got it in him or not, the dog man is going to be the one that's going to always hold the responsibility to whatever happens to that dog. Some people say, oh, the keep was messed up. Okay. Well, there's a reason why we learn to condition our own dogs, because at some point, when do you take responsibility for the things that go wrong? See, there's a lot of guys back in the day that used to pay people to do their dogs. And I used to think about, okay, 6 to 8 week keep. I know what's all involved in doing that keep. And then I got somebody else doing the keep. Is he going to be all in? Because, you're paying 25, sometimes, 5, depending on what the pot was. But I say on the average, 15 to 2,000, maybe 2,500 to put one in shape. Thing is, you well known. You got 3-4 people lined up. I've seen guys try to condition 2-3 dogs and didn't own neither dog. And I always felt a certain type of way about that. because now you just chase some money. You know what I'm saying? And when you start chasing money, you know, it ain't your dog. Got to remember, you got to keep that part in mind. It's not their dog. So whatever happens in the end, you know, you really can't blame it on the conditioner, because you the one who put the dog in that person's hands. And so when I see people, you know, and I've seen it too. So I've seen guys give over their dog, and dog look, you know, something went wrong, and the first got to blame the conditioner. Got to blame. He wasn't in shape. He got winded. He ran hot too quick. Condition. He looked weak. You know, you start hearing all those things. But see, now you're passing the responsibility on to the person who conditioned the dog. But the first mistake was you didn't learn how to condition the dog. And that's not taking nothing away from the great conditioner that was out there, because a lot of times you might have been going into one of these great conditioners, and it took another great conditioner to actually, with a little bit more experience, you know, yeah, some people would turn them dogs over to somebody who would make it a more of a competitive type of situation, because now you're dealing with two great conditioners. So, you know, you're looking to see two well-conditioned animals, which was going to lead to whatever happens, just going to happen. There's no room or, you know, no excuses based on the quality of the conditioners. And when you start understanding the simplicity, because that's really how it is, it's real, you know, it's really down to the simplicity of what you're involved in, even when it comes down to the breeding program. You as a dog man with dogs are actually responsible for everything pertaining to that dog. The raising, feeding, cleaning, all that shit comes with you. Any decisions that you make, whether they go right or wrong, you're always going to be the one responsible for the dog. So if you're going to carry that much responsibility, understanding that much responsibility, you would think that you would prepare yourself to take on all the responsibility. And to me, that's where success comes from. Because you put in enough work that, you know, get to the point to where you see the fruits of your labor. And it's easy for me to say that because I think about where we came from the very first time when we started up until when they actually took the dogs, and all the things you were accomplished in that run. That took a lot of work, and it took a lot of time. And I feel like, do we ever really talk about that like that? You know, I hear a lot of guys talk about what they had on their yard and all this, you know, all the different stories. And you wonder, okay, I hear the stories and I hear everything. Yeah, I had a brother off of so-and-so, but I never hear whatever happened to it. Well, I had this and I bred that, but I never hear about the results. Now, true enough, it's been 20 plus years since we've been, you know, out of the game. 20 plus years. But at least I got 20 plus years of history to really look back on and talk about and be able to pull something I mean, something back there that I felt that I can talk about because it was a great accomplishment. Not to everybody else, but just to us. And I think every dog man, you know, they work for that. Some never achieve it. But then that's what makes the difference between the popularity of the dog and the man with the dog. And I say that popularity because remember, we just don't up and just start talking about great dogs. You know, you got to be a reason why you, first of all, even thinking about calling a dog great with no accolades. That part don't sound right. Never have. You know, whether it be the breeding, the box, climb up a wall, run a treadmill, whatever it is, their accomplishments are always going to shine based on the work that got them there, which means you can't help but think about the man with the dog. And how do you do it? How do you get there? Now, if you're breeding dogs, remember, I'm going back and I'm trying to keep this to where I'm trying to make it look as simple as it really is. Because again, the dog man is the key to everything that goes on as long as he has the dog. If the dog ain't shit, it's up to the dog man to figure out the dog ain't shit. All the way down to the breeding program. You bred this and the shit didn't work out. Well, guess what? That's just time wasted. But it is, you know, who you gonna blame? You know, Mo always make that little comment about what you need to do is stop and think about, put yourself in the dog man, the man with the bitch. Think about, now, why did he take that bitch and breed to that male? Because those things really do matter. They really do. If you're taking some papers and you're looking at some papers and you just like the way the papers look, and that's what you want to jump on, then, you know, it's okay. Jump on it because you just, you know, at that point, you liking the way the papers look. You know, I ain't knocking nobody for that. I'm just saying there's a lot of that that's been going, you know, that's been around for years. And there's a lot of that didn't work too. A lot of it. Do you want to spend a whole lot of years making that same mistake over and over and over? Because that's the way I look at, you know, the history when I think about how many people I know that just being 10, 15, some 20 years and never got it right. I mean, literally, never got it right. So it's easy to have this kind of conversation because you can stop and just actually go back and just do your history and listen to a lot of other dogmans basically say the same thing that I'm sitting here saying 30, 40 years later. Not everybody's going to get to that point, but it's, to me, it's all going to boil down to who's putting in the work. Always been a fan of believing in, if you putting in the work, you're going to see the fruits of your labor. I always say that because I really, truly, in my heart, I truly believe it. Understanding everything that's involved to get to that point. Would definitely feel a total disappointment if I never could get to that point. Because I have to take and accept the responsibility to know it's got to be something I'm doing, something I'm not doing, or something I need to do. And I would think that makes sense. So understanding all that, my breeding program. Why would I lie about my breeding program? Never understood why you lie about a breeding program. But keep in mind, Ben, we weren't open to the public. That had a lot to do with we didn't have nothing that we was trying to sell. I mean, we didn't have that that salesman's type attitude, because we were box guys, we were competitors. So you never wanted to give away, let the wrong thing get away. So as a competitor, you know, if you owe somebody a puppy, they got a puppy or two. But everything else, you know, you kind of pretty much kept home. You're always going to be good because that person got them 2 dogs over there. That's a good dog man over there. He might do the right thing with it. And then we might be hooking up brother, sister breeding, or daughter back to the father. All kinds of things can happen. But as somebody who sells dogs, you know, the ones who breeding to sell puppies, and these are supposed to be the good puppies you're putting out there on the market, right? But then you think about that conditioner that was trying to condition 3-4 dogs, because he's going to need somebody else and a couple more people, and there's no guarantee that they're going to do exactly the way he's supposed to do it. But nobody's going to let that kind of money get away. And that was just one of the things that, you know, you can almost expect anything and anything that you do, but these were some of the things that, you know, just was really happening. You know, friendships and relationships, all kinds of shit, you know, happen over these type of conversations, these type of things that was going on. You farm your dog out, right? You chose to put your dog over there in so-and-so's yard. So-and-so, he's raising it, feeding it, taking care of it. But so-and-so, he's also sneaking a couple stud fees out the deal. Probably had a litter along the way. And then you find out, you know, that you got puppies out there. You got dogs, pedigrees, and all that kind of shit going, and you didn't know nothing about it. So you get upset. But do you really need to be upset when you farming out? You chose to put the dog over there. I mean, what was the stipulations? Remember all the things that go along when you start farming out dogs. I know we used to, you know, and I think my man Ben's in the house, and he knows this, because Ben, and that's DB3 down there. He's part of the kennel going hard also. Just one of the young boys that he grew up in these dogs with us. But he used to live in Virginia. You know, so he knows what I mean by farming out, because he raised most of our younger dogs in Virginia. Remember, at that point in time, we were still living in Ohio. We had dogs way over in Virginia. We had dogs way down there in North Carolina. You know, and our farming out thing has been going on for years. Years. I think my son got dogs. Mo's daughter got dogs. Grandkids got dogs. But they're not breeding dogs. Why would they be breeding dogs when they be like, you know, Unc, Pop, one of them gonna come through, Unc gonna come through, they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do, and they're gonna bring the dog back. You know, they can. You know, we just have access to do what we want to do because even though they're farmed out, we can always go put our hands back on them. That's when it all turns out okay. Because see, we still dealing with people like Ben. Kids not gonna mess up. You know, they're not gonna be out there trying to sell and to do anything because why? Uncle Pop can handle that. But think about the ones when it go wrong. Like one is like how the shit came up missing. When the shit came up missing, she was supposed to have died. No pictures, nothing to indicate anything. Nothing. It's just she was just gone. But she pops up in the Dominican Republic. One of the baddest bitches over in the Dominican Republic. Whole new name and everything. But that only stays quiet until it was somebody who's seen the dog before and said, I know where she is. She's in the DR. Same situation. You know, you think about when we seen Molly B after she got stolen. Don't know what they did with her. Don't have no idea what they did with her. But I know I seen her and I know who had her. Same thing when Art came up missing. A lot of people think they're out there breeding Art. Well, no. Art met his demise another way. So it really wasn't nothing coming off Art after he got stolen. I mean, how are you going to be running around with a dog that's so recognizable and as famous as Art and don't think that somebody, you're going to be having that dog on your yard and somebody ain't going to run around and see it? Believe me, people took a chance. They weren't going to be trying to take that type of chance. But it's these little crazy things over the years and based on how we experienced all of this, you know, and seeing these things happen. And to see how even the same things go on today, you know, and it's like, what part of this game is y'all trying to be in? You know, because when you start realizing the things that goes on now that everybody's, you know, losing their brain over, it's not brand new. It's always been there. But you got to learn how to get by that. And what's the best way to get by it? Stay true to the game. Stay true to your yard. Stay true to yourself. Well, I think it would be so much easier to get wherever you're trying to get to when you're just worried about what you're doing and down what everybody else is doing. Because most of the time, the most successful ones, that's basically what they did. And then when you let too many of the wrong people get in the yard, then you got to be dealing with people coming and steal shit off your yard. 1 second. You know, and I think that's crazy. Let me go get my shout outs before I get too far behind here. So who else I got in here? Big shout out to my man, Mr. Marcel Shepard in the house. What up, fam? Got Mayhem Kennels in the house. What up, bro? Ain't seen you in quite some time, fam. Big shout out to my man, Mr. Bruce Banner. What up, fam? Cannabis Cowboy. What up, fam? Big shout out to Casino Life Prius. What happening, fam? Hoops Kennels. What up, fam? My man, Mr. O's in the house. What up, fam? Cosman Cal TV, what up, fam? My man, Walnut PA, what up, fam? Big shout out to my man, Mr. Johnny Rocket. What up, fam? My man Johnny said, Mike, Red Ace ended up in the DR. Nah, her, not Red Ace. No, wasn't Red Ace. Damn. It was not Red Ace wound up in the DR. The shit was a 2-time winner. And I think she was a 2-time winner, or she had just won. I think she was a 2-time winner. And they sent her to somebody, I'm not going to say their name, and they turned around and said that she had died. But, you know, the person that happened to, they didn't ever see no pictures or get nothing to show that she was actually dead. And then she pops back up. You know, that type of situation. So no, it wasn't Red Ace. But it was the shit. So yeah, we seen that happen. Big shout out to Mr. 216. What up, fam? Yo, my man Carlos Lee. What up, fam? My man Cosmic Cal said, can't lie. Game is weird now, twin. Difference is we get to see the mess ups live real time because of social media. This is true. This is true because you see so much of it. And I mean, you got to admit, social media changes, you know, it's a totally big change from picking up a magazine. Because remember, the magazines or something like that, they would only come out, I mean, once everybody had one once a month. I think the journal, you know, it came out quarterly, if I believe correctly. It came out quarterly. So look at how much time passed and all the things that went on before you would basically read some of the stories. And if you get the journals or read some of the Gazette or the American Game Dog Times, there's so many other things you could have read, and just read some of the stories and listen to some of the things that people say that was going on. Social media works faster because it's, like Kyle said, we in real time. We don't have to wait no 3 months, you know, for the next edition to come out or the next publication, because you're catching everything in real time. Now, you would think being you're catching things in real time that would be like a turnoff to you would think that would be a turnoff to the bullshit. You know, but it's not. It's almost like since social media and the internet, the scamming game done got more sophisticated. You know, everybody trying to figure out a way to scam. You can't even look at just regular advertisement or a regular email without having to worry about clicking the wrong thing. See, that's what modernization does as far as information and the ability to collect information. We didn't have that in our day. Yeah, we had transporters just like everybody else. Dog's supposed to go somewhere. Goddamn dog don't never get to where it's supposed to go, and can't nobody find transport. Now, how many times back in the day you think they could have been able to pull that off compared to trying to pull that type of shit off in the now? It might have took a couple months or, you know, a couple phone calls, and even with you trying to figure out what happened back in our time, you couldn't get to that information as fast as you could do based on the technology we have today. Dog didn't show up, person disappeared. We're gonna have the transporter, the company, the name of the company transporter, the person who owned the company, the transporting company. You're gonna know what dog came up missing. You can damn near find out what highway he was on and get to where he was supposed to go, and any shortcuts that he took to find, all types of shit. It's just amazing what you can do with the modern technology when it comes to information. My thing is, why? What makes people, what is it about this game that makes people do the things that they do? Remember, the dog is self-explanatory. Let me take it back to, my point here. The dog is something we all have to accept because this is what it is. This is the game. You mean he's not supposed to be the issue. We all have our own opinions on what a good dog is, what we expect on, what we want our yards to be. Those are based on decisions that you as an individual, you as a dog woman, dog man, you're responsible for that part right there. What you feeding, fam? That's first thing, what you feeding. Second thing, how you bred. Okay? Who you getting from? All that comes with, that's just the norm. But remember, those are still the responsibility of the person, man or woman, with the dog. Look how important that is, because we still talking about the dog, but the man with the dog, he's going to have to be a part of the conversation. And when I make that comment, I know more when they talk about, well, Twin and them, they bring number champions and grand champions, and I hear this comment that, hey, like, well, there was a lot of that going on, and some of the shit didn't work. This is true. There's a lot of that shit didn't work. A lot of it didn't work. But it's a lot of it that did work. So we got to take our hats off to the ones that did work and didn't work, because at least the ones that it didn't work on, at least they did try. They're not standing back talking shit about something that was never tried. You only talk shit about something when it was tried, and if it didn't work, it didn't work. But that means because it didn't work for you, don't mean it ain't gonna work for somebody else. Because when you start talking like that, you start questioning the legality of the person with the dog. As much as Maurice Carver turned around and fucked over papers to where everybody in the game knew it, do you think that stopped people from buying them dogs? No. No. As much as David Tant, for those who don't know, messed around with all kinds of dogs and changing names and everything, do you think that any of that mattered when it came down to people going down there to get them dogs? No. So understanding that, why you think that would change today? No, I mean, there's no reason for it to change today. Who you gonna blame? You can't blame nobody. You got to go back and always check yourself. This is why I be so stuck on, hey, stop worrying about what everybody else doing and pay close attention to what you doing. Because basically, if you sit back and just listen, read a little bit, put a little bit of research in on, and then just check out a couple shows, and then just think about what's being said. Because we live in an information world. The choices that you make, you should be well informed on whatever the hell you do. because that's the only way you're going to take advantage of a situation that's made to be taken advantage of because of so much information out there. You know, I liked the Black Rock dogs. Never met them before, but I liked the Belline dogs. You know, hell, KP, he liked the Mexican Eli dogs. Hell, he was buying dogs coming back from over in Russia back to America. Because he's connected like that. He has relationships with people who were like that, to where he could had access to some of them good bred dogs and bring them back here and put them to the, into the program just to see how it would work. Because remember, none of this shit is guaranteed. But the fact that you put in the work and you do the research, there's some things you're just willing to take a chance on. And if it work, it work. If it don't work, we move on to the next thing. Got to be willing to do that. But then if it don't work, you got to blame it on yourself. You just write it off and then you move on to the next thing, because what happens when it works for you? The importance of what happens when it works for you. And that's the thing about when things working for you. Most of the time when you got things working for you, you got things, moving up the ladder, you're going to draw attention. Whether it be through your breeding program, whether it be through your competition. When you start getting attention, then that means your dogs are representing you. And once your dogs wind up in other people's hands, then that's a whole new story. Think about it. We always say the dog is only as good as the person who got the dog. But now you got dogs out there in the wrong people's hands. You get enough of that shit out there in the wrong people's hand, and they ain't doing shit. What do you think is fixing to happen? Them dogs ain't shit. Look how quick it can turn bad. A good breeding program just turned bad. Think about it. Mayday, I think it was 17 pages of dogs, and say, just say 500. Say if Mayday had 500, they say you got 1,700 some offspring, but I'm going to just break it down and try to keep it simple. Say 500. Now, before he left the States, we knew of 17. Dog wasn't bred that much before he left the States, y'all. And if you really think about it, Victor was making the breedings, but he wasn't making the dogs. See where I'm going with that? He was making the breeding. Remember, Mayday's career was over. You never heard anything else of all of them 17 champions. Victor bred them dogs, but he wasn't the one that made them what they were. But that goes to show you they became what they were because the breedings he was making, they was in good dog man's hands. And it should be, one of them things when you stop back and think about it, for us, we was one of the first ones that had the luxury of being one of those to get to a dog like Mayday before everybody else got involved, because of what and who we knew and what we seen. There's a lot of dogs in this game, man, that I have seen. There were great competition, but if you wonder what happened to the breeding program, Then I stopped and think about, okay, well, he wasn't no breeder. Just like Mo really wasn't no breeder. If we were copying anything, we was trying to copy the fact that everybody that we was basically knew and it was around, they was breeding their own shit. They were literally using their own shit. Literally. So I guess that had a lot to do with how we were running our program compared to how we seen a lot of other guys. Then you look at ProSet. ProSet was just going around buying great dogs. Go and buy a great dog. Hell, what the hell? Don't hear him doing up too much breeding program because that's just wasn't his thing. He was a competitor. Everybody played their different roles, and there was so many different roles out there. But again, you can't knock ProSet because he wasn't no breeder, but you got to give him his props because we can still talk about the dogs that he and the champions that he had. It don't have nothing to do with he didn't breed a dog. The fact is, he's the one that made them great. Why? Because he was the one putting down. He was a competitor. We had a couple of them. So there was so many ways how you could do this game. So different many ways to do it. But how do you know when it paid off? You know, I think about when you know what I mean, we had them dogs off of Low Posse's Buster. We was in Carolina. And remember, we got them dogs from James Edwards. You know, James knew old man Low Posse real good. He had to. Because remember, we got Bruiser and Solo. And at the time, in 1982, I believe old man Low Posse was dead. Because by then, I think her name was Pat Low Posse. I think she was running shit by then, her and her daughter. So look at all the great breedings that woman made, because some of the great breedings that came out of Low Posse's Buster was not done by old man, but was done by her. So she was just one of them ladies I had so much high regards to. You know, because James spoke so highly of her, which was like that was a big thing back then for us. Remember, we really didn't know who she was, but he spoke of her, and he had so much confidence in the dogs that he was giving us. Excuse me. Oh no. I had to take my medicine. Y'all got to excuse me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, he spoke so much. He spoke highly of her. Keep in mind, hell, we didn't even know how, we didn't really know who he truly was as far as greatness and the dogs he had. But for him to be speaking about that woman and old man Low Posse, and then you stop and think about, what all came out of that situation. You'd be like, damn. Because if we can still look at her work and be like, I knew her, I heard about her early in the game. When one of the greats talked about her, talked about old man Low Posse too. And then they say the same thing about him. Old Mr. Edwards, old Kimsey. You look back on all them old guys and you say, shit, we was young in the game, didn't really know who they was, but to know who they was and some of the conversations, and then you look at the dogs. that still makes you think about what I was saying. You know, the man still made the damn dogs. That's a plus. You know what I'm saying, fellas? That part there is just me giving you a small glimpse into a world that consisted of so many, but there were a lot more failures than there was success. When you think about that, imagine just how many people were out there running around with dogs. You know what I'm saying? If my man Johnny Rockets here with the puff pass, Mike, pass that shit. Hold on, Carl. Hold on. Let's see. Let me get to your names. I see my man Dark Society in the house. What up, fam? Yo, Skip Bill. What up, fam? Big shout out to my man, Mr. Chauncey Green. What up, cuz? My man with the muscles, Mr. Brandon Crawford in the house. What up, fam? Let's see here. I'm playing catch up, fellas, and smoking at the same time. Oh, let me see. 216. Yo, King James. What up, fam? Big shout out to my man, Mr. Hemi James in the house. What up, fam? Hemi saying, my man Hemi said, if I'm not mistaken, the old man died not long after getting Buster. Well, Hemi, actually, Mr. Lopasi had Buster. He gave Buster to somebody else. And that person died a month after getting Buster. And old man Lopasi went down and picked the dog back up, brought him back home, and then a month later he died. You know, unusual things happen in this game, but that's the story I knew of. But being that we was back there in that time period, you know, and I hear those type of stories, you know, that's why I be tripping, because I be like, well, damn, when James was around talking about her, he must have been already dead. You know, and then you think about, you know, getting like Bruiser, was 6 months old, Solo, 8-week-old puppy. You know, these was coming from the low posses. So, and when I see them dogs now, I'm like, damn, that's how close we was to them as far as real good dogs. But remember, we still young in the game. So keeping that part in mind, as we got older in this game, that part of for us never changed as far as the type of people that we dealt with. You know, it's always good to have friends, but it's nothing better than having business associates. Because most of the time when you have business associates, you generally have shit in common, you know, and that journey be business. It's not like your friends, you hang out and do all other type of shit. But when you're with your business partners or your business associates, you have different types of conversations. You can get a lot of ideals, because that's what it's all about, sharing ideals, sharing situations. You just have different conversations when you're dealing with different type of people based on what you're working with. But you're right, Hemi, he did die. They said it was a month after he went back and got Buster that he died, a month later. But not knowing, I mean, for us, not knowing, letting history tell the rest of the story. Remember, we was down there with James and them in 82. Oh man, Lopasi couldn't have been dead no more than a year, if not that long. Might have been a couple months, because James was getting a lot of the dogs. So when I read the story nowadays and think about, okay, old man was gone, And look at all the great breedings that she made. But for me, I know she had a lot of help because hell, James and Kinsey and Atlas and them, they had some type of relationship with her because they wound up giving us the dogs that they was giving her, and they was coming from her. So to fill in the blanks and think about the work that she was putting in, whether they was helping her or not, I mean, she's in the record books. Anytime you see that little posse, especially when it came to Buster, just keep this in mind. Old man didn't do that. His wife did that. And their daughter. I know that he had a daughter. But I kind of knew that, remember that situation because James would speak on it. You know, even when we got Bruiser first. Then a couple months later, we wound up, and he had that litter with Solo in it. And that's how we got Solo. Ain't no problem, Hemi. No problem. You was on the right track. We heard the same story. Pretty much, we all both heard the same story. I just heard mine a little bit back in that time period. This was prior to all the breed. Because remember, them dogs, you know, they hadn't been created yet. So a lot of the story was for us was right around the time it was happening. And the people who was actually getting their hands on the dogs to where we were getting our hands on those type of dogs. So you can't really learn to appreciate that until years later. First of all, you got to understand who the fuck James Edwards was to appreciate it. So it really, with that appreciation really wasn't there when we were getting these things because he was just another guy with dogs. Hell, we didn't know no better, but history took care of the rest. So it helps me have this story because it all plays out when you're basically dealing with the right people. And that's where I'm going with this. It's not impossible. It's very possible because it happened for us. And I'm pretty sure it happened for a lot of other dogmen based on the people, because nobody can tell you what the future got, you know, what the future holds. You just wouldn't, it's impossible. But it does help a little bit, you know, when I got some of my old bulldoggers out there. You see me like you've been around. Big shout out to my man DMV. Vito, what up, fam? Representing the DMV. I see you. You know, I know I got some of my old bulldoggers out there. Y'all know where I'm coming from, because I know all of us got them stories when you think about you had a chance to get so and so. And and you let it get by you. Getting ready, whatever the situation, but the dog turned out to be something like, damn, I could have had a chance to get that. You know, it's them kind of things, man, to be like, damn. But for me, I see it a lot different only because I lived it. So I understand it just a little better when I see it now and be thinking, you know what, fellas, you know, we all are on the internet and we do all the things that we do. But if I was going to give somebody some good advice in this game, I would always be that one guy to say, you know, before you deal with the dog, deal with yourself. Check yourself. Because this game here, it ain't meant for everybody. You know, it's going to really take some work. You know, you have that little general conversation like I'm saying to y'all now, you know, because regardless of what fucking dog you go out there and get, the dog, you know, ain't going to be shit unless you figure out what you fixing to do. What kind of time you going to put in it. See, I never felt like there was an easy task of doing that. You know, some people, you know, you got your thieves that go out and steal shit. Think about all the great dogs that got stolen. Wouldn't it be, you know, wouldn't it be one of them things you'd just be wondering, damn, I wonder whatever happened to him. Well, let's take Eli, for instance. Remember Eli got stolen? But then all of a sudden, we got a whole bunch of them goddamn Eli dogs coming up out of Mexico. And I'm trying to tell you, goddamn it, them was some of the best Eli dogs. They was doing better with the Eli dogs than we was actually doing here. But I believe they knew Eli was over there. Somebody did. Because a lot of dogs, you know, come on now. There wasn't that many of them out there prior to him being stolen. And by the time they was coming back out of Mexico, they was either going to be off of Eli Jr. or Bully Son or some other shit that we had no idea what it was. But there was somebody who knew that that dog was over there. And if you go back and check your history and see how they slowly was creeping back in and where they was coming from, and just look at certain people's yards, you could pretty much know who knew where the dog was just based on their breeding program. And that's just, and being, you know, being Maurice was a gangster, you know, I don't take nothing from anything that he ever did. You know, I truly believe that, you know, Floyd was a good man. One thing I never, I mean, me personally now, business-wise, I say based on, because I never dealt with Floyd, but I never heard of anything, any bullshit when it came out of Floyd. Floyd told you his best dog he ever had was that Booze dog. I think he tells everybody that. I think he still had the Blind Billy shit around. I mean, you just think about them stories and you think, look at all the success Floyd had. Floyd didn't have the same reputation as Maurice Carver. He didn't. Remember, there's stories about all these guys. Just like I got stories about some of the guys that in my time. I can tell y'all some stories just damn near almost can equate to some of the stories that they was doing back down there and Tudors and Carver and them same fucking issues. It's just like it's almost part of the cycle. But when you're trying to be a part of something, it's a matter of what side of the cycle you're trying to be on. It's hard to be paying attention to what everybody else is doing, you know, and you still trying to do your own, when really my conversation is, let's try to keep it simple. The dog ain't gonna be shit without you. And you ain't gonna be shit if you ain't got the right dog. So just with them two things in mind, where do you find time to be worried about what everybody else doing? You know, that part right there. You should never have time to be worried about what the next man is doing. Actually, you spend more time worried about how to make what you're doing better and working to prove to yourself why you do the things that you do, that you wouldn't have time to worry about what the next man is doing and how he doing it. And that's the real seriousness of this conversation, because, man, only time that you really gonna understand how hard this shit is when you really have to do it. And I'm gonna give my big shout outs, because I know my real bulldog men is out there who got them years under their belt, know exactly what I'm saying. And y'all living, I'm still living, y'all still living. Some of y'all been back around there. I don't know how y'all was in the 80s, but shit, in the early 80s, shit, I was still a young kid. When I say young kid, I think I was like, 82, I was 21. 2021. Been dealing with dogs my whole entire life, but in North Carolina, and I'm in the Marine Corps. I just got out. Was getting out, 1982. when I was supposed to get out. But stayed until 86. But it was 82 when we brought the Bulldogs around. And it's funny how you look back on that time from what we started with the Bloods and the BAs and all them dogs, going to Ohio and doing all that and seeing all that rascal shit, all that Bosco shit. And I'm not talking about the, shit down off of. I'm talking about the originals. The real shit. I mean, that's just in your first generation type shit. Like Shirley. Like you said, I seen Powell do with that brother-sister breeding. It was part of the bottom half of that tornado shit. When you look, for me to look back on all of that shit and being so close to it, I'd be like, man, sometimes y'all take some of these stories, these stories that y'all hear, and there's a lot of them out there. But some of the like Mountain Man, Snake Man, Fat Bill. I mean, listen to some of their stories. Then I go to like Mau Mau, Triple M, Bakari. See, different age groups, different dogmans, different way of doing things. But one thing they all had in common, they was about their dogs. And that's for real. If you know anything about Bakari, good dog man. Hear the crazy story because he tell you the crazy stories. He don't be bullshitting. You have some who be dead serious about their dogs, and they test their dogs a certain type of way. So some people are just hard to please. But then you got them ones, they gonna put in that work, and they gonna make sure that when they step out there, ain't nothing that they finna get out there and see that they ain't seen already. And I gotta truly, and trust and believe we were like that also. I just laugh at Picard because he was known for it. He was hard on some dogs, but he always had great dogs. Where he picked that up from? We've heard him tell a lot of stories, but there's no stories you hear say where he ever got that attitude at, you know what I'm saying? Which makes him a special dude. I know Mr. T and I knew McNasty, and he knew them real well too. I never knew them to be them kind of guys, even though they could work a motherfucking dog. They were good at it, but they wasn't as hard as that goddamn Bakari. But there was a couple of them. Remember, we know LaFons. We knew the Bishop brothers. You got Ohio Cash, Pope. I mean, I can name a whole bunch of them just myself. But when you start knowing these type of people over a certain time period and era, these people, these individuals. And if Ohio Cash taught us how, what we did. Okay. But you will find Ohio Cash, he had a couple champions. He was a fast lane dude. So there you go. I mean, at least he got something to talk about. He just wasn't I ain't talking about no one or two. So you got him, then you got Mau Mau, you got Triple M. Remember, all these guys, they're just not just guys with dogs. These are guys with working dogs that they do have a history. I mean, they got a history. I could talk about each one of them and pull up their shit. And these ain't just normal motherfuckers with dogs. Reason why you can talk about these gentlemen, these dog men, because they had the ability to have great dogs. You know what I'm saying? When you were around people like Andre Giroux running around up north, and then you got all the people that you know up north. Everybody's getting it in. But do you know these people personally? Gray dogs. Totally different conversation. So when you live long enough to see the game go through the stages that go through, and then you see the people that's involved, at some point you got to pick something and say, okay, which one you trying to be? Never knew anybody trying to be anybody except for who they were. You know, Tom Ratliff, great guy. You know what Tom was in? I don't, wasn't none of my business. But he had great dogs, and he was really a good person. Who was that one? The Mail Maker. I mean, there was a couple guys. It was just good people all the way around. Shared a bunch of information, but then they had great dogs. I mean, I can still go back and pull up their dogs. I got years and years and years of, I can do that. Mo does it a lot. So it's not like it couldn't be done. When we're just looking back on what that history is. Remember, once it's already written. So if I'm looking at the people living under now, I'm gonna say, hey fellas, we used to be all at one point. Before any of this shit happened, where I could look on this history, there was a point in time where we was right where y'all at today. We used to be right there. We used to be no different than you. No different. I can talk about our shit all these years later. Now, what you gonna be talking about after you spend as much time in this game as I have? What you gonna have to talk about? Because we see a whole bunch of that shit. See, that's my thing. And I said this game had levels. And that's not to put anybody down. I just look at it, there were some people that was more serious than others. Because we could have, I mean, at what point was we, and even to choose the route we took, excuse me, why did we take the route we took? What was it about that route that we took? Did we start off fast anyway when you started dealing with, because of the people we were dealing with in the area that we came up in? When we first started with these dogs? I can't tell you that because we didn't know those people like that. So there had to be something in us, because remember, we was already dealing with Doberman pinchers. So if we're already dealing with dogs, and you're just taking that same mentality, and now you seeing this great animal, and you looking at how, this is a pit bull. You learn about what a pit bull does. If you're going to do them pit bulls like the same purpose, for like our Doberman pinchers had a purpose, like our Malinois got a purpose, like this pit bull had a purpose. See, everybody was going to be good at their purpose. See, there's a difference there. We worked hard to make our dogs good at what they were meant to be good at. That to us is something that's in the dogman. It's a learned thing. Once you get the information, you learn. The more you do it, the better you are. Over the time, you're going to see the fruits of your labor. That's the name of the game. So it's hard to be trying to figure out, why you trying to do this. You out here trying to bullshit people. I can't even see where we had time to do that. You see what I'm saying? Never seen where we had time to worry about what somebody else had in their yard, to where it was competition or some shit. Maybe that had a lot to do with where we was from. Now, remember, we was in Carolina to Ohio and then down to Florida. That's a group of, these are places we stayed, not just, those was my homes. That's where I used to live. I got a lot of years in North Carolina, a lot of years in Ohio. I definitely got a lot of years in Florida. Remember, I'm 65 years old. But to be around I mean, just to have the pleasure of being around those type of dog men along the way, and can sit here and tell you that, you know, hey, talk shit on them all you want, you know, but one thing I got in my favor, I can go back and you got one hell of a list to be trying to work with talking to me when I'm talking about these type of people. And that's not me putting myself on no high pedestal, because it's not about a pedestal. It's about respect for the people who was doing the shit that, you know, influenced me to try to be just as good as them. I'm not them. Never looked at myself trying to be better, me or Mo or KP or Ben. None of us, we never was looking to be better than anybody. What we was really trying to do was have some badass dogs to where we can be competitive like them. See, I don't never remember a time that where we was talking shit to the big boys and they was ready to just, you know, and they was ready to just come smash us and shit. Never, I mean, even when we judo, the first one that we lost with judo, I think we had him, judo wound up being a 36, 37 pounder, and we had him his first match at 47 against a real 47 that went, you know, was going for his championship. That went on to be a 5-time, I think a 4-time winner or a 5-time winner. But man, we the new faces in town. We from Ohio, but we the new faces in the dog community. And Twin and them bought up these dogs from Carolina. They run around here smashing people. So it wasn't that we doing the bragging. No, we just bringing the shit that we was using to Carolina. We're going to bring it to Ohio, and then we're going to be putting it on their shit. That's the way that happened. Not talking shit. Not running around trying to beat up people's shit. No, we just on a new area, and you got bulldogs, and we got bulldogs. Let's hook up. And history took care of the rest. Good people led to good things. And at no time did I have, there's anybody that had a yard that I was trying to be concerned about, to where I could find myself out here talking shit on them or what they had. You know, I think because competition was so stiff, you know, because you're only going to be as good as the competition that you're going into. So if you are around competitive people, then that's the level that you're going to be grading your dogs on. And to me, that was real important, because it's the level of the people that we get a chance to look at, not just what they're using, but what we're trying to, you know, put in there for them to be able to, you know, give us a better look at what we're actually dealing with. See, and that's another thing I thought was important. How did that happen? Remember, character has a whole lot to do with a lot of things. Especially when you're the man responsible for the dog. Because the person that's got a dog and you talking shit about the dog, I mean, and they talking shit about their dog, you know, most of them, they going to grab that dog and they going to put him out there, and he either going to do what he's supposed to do, or he either finna get his ass whooped. And then you're going to have to go back and try to find something else to save face, because you had a whole lot to say and you was out of there in less than 10. So we already questioned your eye. Remember, all of us have seen these type of things. For all my old timers, we've seen, I guarantee there's not too much that I've seen that some of these old timers ain't seen somewhere else in their own motherfucking, you know, thoughts or things that they experienced along the way, because I think that would just be part of the game. But understanding that and applying that, see, it's easy for us to sit back and look back on it and talk about it. But it's so much harder when you're trying to start from a certain point and move forward with it, because you don't have the, you're just not you can't look into the future. See, we tell you a story that has already happened. So it looks a lot different from us when we look back on it compared to what was going on when we was living it. So I could just, I have that in my repertoire when I look at some of the things that I see today, and I know, moving forward, in order for anything to happen the way it's supposed to happen, considering that been there, done that, you pay attention to, first of all, the person. Me, I look at people and then I look at the dog. Because if you're putting in the work, and you love these dogs like you love these dogs, and I know that I've seen a lot of guys that really have a passion for these dogs. These dogs is meant to have, some type of passion. When we talk about, man, there's no greater feeling than, putting some work with your warrior. The way we used to look at it, the relationship you had with them. That's that hands-on. And think of what it was like when you had that same relationship with just not 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, but a yard, acres full of them. See, we wasn't nothing like the big guys. We weren't nothing like the big guys, because down there, when we said we had 80 and we broke it down to 40, it was down in Carolina. I could swear Harry Hargrove had to have over 100 dogs. There was a couple guys that back in the day that, man, they had so many damn dogs, I didn't even know how they could do it. Big yards. So when we got into it, our game plan is to get the right dogs and then don't let nothing get away. Make the right breedings and don't let nothing get away. And my man Ben, he could truly tell you, because a lot of dogs passed to that young man's hands. A lot of them. I remember when he finally came to Florida and he was on the yard and seeing the yard, he was like, damn. All that little work he did, and he got a chance to see the fruits of that labor, because it was a yard full of them. And the funny thing was, they all looked alike. Yeah, Ben, we kept every goddamn thing out of all the litters, everything. But see, you talk about the man behind the dog now. The man behind the dogs. Had to come right from my mouth. I mean, I lived the story, but how many other people you've seen them live this story? When Don Mayfield was sit there and telling his stories, or, the old interviews that Schoolboy had it and Fat Bill had, where these old guys sitting down there telling their stories, all of them gonna have a story, man, of how, when, where, and got to remember, that's us being able to look back and at least have something worthy of talking about. That didn't happen because we was trying to make it happen. That just happened because we put ourselves in a position, and that's just the way we were in the dog game, just like all the other guys. But one thing I could truly say they all had in common, they were really dog men first, fellas. To me, we all got in everything that you do, everybody's going to be their own individual. But a dog man is a different type of individual. An American Pit Bull Terrier dog man, when it comes, just be talking about dogs, is just a whole different type of individual. You know, us as guard trainers, you know, dogs, they're protection dogs. Yeah, our protection dogs bite people. All right. And they have to be very, very good at biting people. That means we keep into consideration if you got a knife, you know, you might have a gun, you know, a bat or something, you know, all these things. And now it's just me and my dog. Because our dogs don't fight without us. Even our protection dogs, we teach people how to fight with the dog. Got this big ass leash there, which is iron buckle on it. When he go in, you go in. Just start swinging that motherfucker like you swinging a belt, and y'all gonna put in some work, because protection dogs are meant they're just like guns. If you pull that leash and let him off, it's like you just fired a gun. You're responsible for everything they do. But then for us, it's a life or death situation. And if a dog can't protect you, then why do you need that dog? That dog ain't going to make it. See, there's no half-ass way of doing this shit. And that's why I say the dog man alone has got to be a special dog man, because some of them we really do take this shit that serious. The quality of our work really does matter. Now, I'm not going to say that for everybody, because it's not true for everybody. It's not. But if you was in the game 30 years, okay, 30 years, you should have something to show for the work. At least something to give back. That's why I never got to, there's, I'm not on that wannabe shit. I don't, shit. The wannabe shit is kind of one of them things where, a person that was in school and they run around talking shit, and from the outside, you a scary motherfucker, but you really know, you scared of him because you won't check him. He probably taking your lunch money. But that little bully run around and run up on the wrong person, and before you know it, we taking their lunch money. Then your boy, he kind of trying to look up to you because you stood up to the bully, but then you looking at your boy sideways because your boy really a punk. Do you really want your punk boy to be with you? I mean, come on, this is, how serious are you about that shit? I'm on it, your camp ain't is, it ain't but so good, and it's always going to be, your weaknesses are always going to be the weakest link. You got to eliminate all the weak links, man, in order to be able to make sure that you have a tight situation when you're dealing with anything. That's first and foremost. And I always say, this is a damn business. And I have all the respect for all the men and the men who made the dogs, because at least they had the intelligence enough to know, first of all, what a good dog was. That's their decision. They making them choices. They the ones who go out and put that shit together. I mean, as far as when you feeding it and taking care of it, it's your responsibility. Whatever that dog becomes from this point forward, once he's in your hand, is totally on you, sir, and what you're going to do with it. They're going to do something with it. See, that's a different kind of dog, man, because he already been on a mission. To me, that's what the purpose of you and having a dog was. Ain't that the purpose of having them? I mean, everybody has their own reason, but You know, we're talking about the American Pit Bull Terrier. These dogs aren't meant for everybody. They're not. All we're going to do is talk about the history. We always say live in the disclaimer. Well, fellas, there was a time back in the day that we had the same issues, but the severity of the crime wasn't as bad, and we still just took that risk. Now, we were going to take the risk. Our way of thinking about it, if you don't take the risk, you might as well be good at it. Don't get caught up taking a risk with some bullshit. I mean, you kind of learned that on the street. Go ahead. Go out there and try to sell somebody some soap, thinking you're getting off some crack and see what's going to happen to your ass. You want to take a shortcut? Go ahead and get out there. And, you get them little soap crumbs and get your head cracked. Go ahead and make it hard on yourself because you're trying to be, you're just an asshole all the way around. What kind of person, we know we got them kind of people out there. You're going to have them out there, but you don't want to be one of them people. That's, first and foremost. I'm not trying to be that guy. So I think we need to, we need to say that more often, simply because it's easy to throw somebody else in a category or somebody under the bus and, or have a conversation, but you got to stop and think about who you having a conversation with. Who is you going back and forth with? See, I watch a lot of my guys, when I say my guys, I'm talking about my guys in the community. So I want nobody to feel like I'm a part of this community, been a part of this community for years. So I see a lot of names, and we're all going to run across each other because it's like it's the neighborhood. We're going to see each other somewhere, somehow, some kind of way. That's all good. So you get a kind of way of how they're thinking, right? What they're doing. So based on me and seeing a lot of my guys, I know the ones that's been out there a while based just on some of their conversation. And some of them don't even, I ain't never seen them on a panel. Very see them speaking, but when they do speak, I know they know what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I have a little bit more, awareness of who's actually in this community. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's important because it's not like I'm talking to a bunch of people who don't know what I'm talking about. Because I know there's a lot of people out there who know exactly what I'm talking about. But in the same token, they might not be comfortable doing what they see us doing. You see what we doing. This shit don't pay us to do anything but to sit here and try what this is our way of getting us back. I ain't sitting out here trying to make no millions of dollars or trying to be nothing except for pass something forward the way it was passed forward to us. And I don't know how many of y'all really understand what that means, but that takes me back to the integrity thing and why I talk about sometimes you got to remember the dog has always been the dog, but the dog ain't did shit on his own without the dog man and dog woman. So y'all need each other. I need my dog to be the best of what he can be, and I got to make sure that he is the best that he could be to be representing me and wasting my damn time. That is kind of what I thought all dogmen was supposed to be thinking. Sometimes it's harder said than done. But again, if we're trying to give back and pass it forward, the same way they did us when we first got into this thing is going to be the same way they're going to do to the next man. But if you learn anything from what that looks like, even for us coming into this whole new thing and all the other shit that came along with it. One damn thing we had in our favor. We had a history. We had enough to not talk about, I can show you. And I can show you where we got it from. And they were so much better than us because they were basically sharing this information with us. That's why we share it back with you. Because the one that's listening, my old schoolers, them old OGs, them old dog men out there knowing I'm talking about. Because if you was up on your shit, you would really have something to talk about. You really would. Because it's hard to take effective information from somebody who never did it. But I see that shit work sometimes because I've seen it being done. But I heard Schoolboy say it one time, when he first seen us come in, and he just, he kind of questioned it. Schoolboy, he gonna let you know when it's a real dog, man. If you're faking a funker, you know what you talk about. So I think he caught on early, But then the thing that got me was with Schoolboy when he called and he was like, I knew you guys knew what you were talking about because he talked to a guy, Mr. T.L. Williams. And y'all, for those who don't know, I seen a picture of him where I think it was on Facebook, but he didn't have a cowboy hat. And he didn't have the overalls on. But I seen him a couple of times. He was even at one of the shows we threw. But when Schoolboy was talking about, he talked to him and he remembered us. And to me, he is not a very boisterous type of guy. And for him to remember us, it was kind of like, that's another honor for me because, I remember him. But he always was in the back. Real quiet. A lot of the guys know him, but see, I never knew him personally. But that just goes to show you that when people of that kind of stature, can remember you, I feel like, okay, we were at least doing something to say, we had every right to be where we was at because we were holding our own. Really wasn't concerned about everybody else around us because I didn't know if Mr. Williams, who he was actually with there, how he was even actually there. Because back in the day when we doing the hosting, who show they show and everybody responsible who they show with. So never really paid attention to that type of shit when it came to, a lot of the people. But it gave us a chance to get to know people. That's where networking comes from. The game gave us that much. Big shout out to my man, Mr. Cecil Jackson. Yo, Chauncey Green, what up? RBG Lone Wolf, I see you, fam. Talk of the City Kennel, what up, fam? But it's just, I think we need to put more emphasis on, not just the dogs, but let's start paying attention to the dog men. Because if the majority of everybody who just, you really want to be successful, pay attention to what you're doing and don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Because you might be doing something that's going to, they say it's just hard to hide good. A good program is hard to just keep under wraps. Because anytime that you are being successful, somebody's going to talk, and then before you know it, whether through good breeding programs or you're only breeding certain type of ways, and other people go to saying, hey, I got this dog so-and-so, and he doing this and he doing that, and then everybody trying to get that But then the only way they're going to get it, they got to come through you to get it. Because you've been that locked in on controlling your own surroundings that you have that kind of control to bring that type of attention to yourself. Remember, all you got to do is be good. The rest takes care of itself. I don't want y'all to ever lose track of that, because we let a lot of people say it. You know, there's a lot of good people out here, but there's not enough showing why, what makes this person good. You know, first thing you want to know how good a person is, go check what he got on the yard. Go see what they're working with. Now, I'm not meant to put nobody down. I'm just saying, if you're putting in the work, you shouldn't have much to say. Nothing. I mean, really, you shouldn't. If you're putting in the work, you shouldn't have much to say. It's about show. It's about showing at that point in time. You know, this is so and so. This is how he break. That's so and so that makes us a so and so. That's how they break. What else is to talk about? You know, there's a reason why you standing here asking me, ain't it? You know, because good dogs is you know, everybody's got a good dog, to let everybody say it. And we're in a time that's good, because the only way what's going to distinguish, then we're in a different time period. But back in the day, we had a lot of ways of finding out who had the better dog. But even in today's day, okay, there's still competition that you can still have the better dog just through competition. All right, so you got to do a little bit looking now. Okay, so who looks the best? But that treadmill, that's working. Running up a wall is working. Weight pulling is working if you really want to be competitive. So everybody still has the same opportunities that we did last, you know, in my day. Basement always going to be the basement. So we let them do what they've been doing for the many years they've been doing it. They shit ain't meant to be talked about anywhere up on this platform. So I'm always going to tell you, that ain't meant for everybody. Night vision is what it is. Don't know who, what, when, or where, but that's just a part of this game that has always and will always exist. It's not meant for everybody, so live by the disclaimer and stay safe and get back over here where I am, because regardless of which one you're trying to be, based on your purpose, it's still going to be boiled down to two things that's going to matter: the dog and the person and the man with the dog. And where you play at into that situation depends on how good you are in doing what you do. You shouldn't have to talk about who, you know, it's not about talking about it. If you're really trying to make something of what you do like they used to do back in the day. Anybody used to get the journal. I think Maurice Carver or Floyd, one of them had the whole goddamn back page of the journal for years. Oh, Bert Sorrells. Yeah. I mean, you do what he do. You know, guaranteed Bert's going to be back there. And some of the other guys would always pop up with doing advertising. You know, that's how you do that. You jump out there and you let everybody know this is what you're doing. And because of that name, say Floyd Boudreaux, or I remember when Fletcher Chavis was doing that when Chavis had yellow. I remember that. I remember when it was all in the journal. I remember all that. It was fresh. New. Everybody talking about Jocko. Jocko this, Jocko that. Some of them old schoolers back in the day know what that time period looked like. They used to probably get them journals. You probably remember them just as well as we do. Over the time, you've seen different names showing up and showing out. But sometimes we be so caught up in this that we keep forgetting. I don't want y'all ever forget. Remember, the dog and the dog woman, dog man, whichever one it is what makes up the game. And it's a matter of do you really have time to be worried about what the next man doing? Because the greatness is going to come from basically on what you're doing. And you don't really have to say much when it comes to that, because your work will always be the reason that you don't have to say shit. I can show you better. I can tell you. It's always worked for us. Even through the monotonies and all the crazy shit. You know. But there's just some ones that, you know, I ain't never seen nobody come back and come and clicking and showing me they shit. I remember not a one. Think about that. We just only try to show you how we did it. For the ones who talk shit and think about some of the shit y'all done seen go through on this show. Have y'all ever seen anybody get up and try to show us what they got? I mean, I try to leave the door open for that. You know, we can go at that. But I ain't never seen it over the 3 years that we done been up doing this. All the people, you know, some of the people that had in there to have something to say, but I ain't never seen them, not a damn one of them try to go toe to toe with nothing Mo do. Because Mo is always going to tell you he working off receipts. He ain't got to sit here and be showing. He can show you better than he can tell you. But I ain't never seen nobody else pull that stunt. At least to go at it to where he's worthy of even having a conversation. And maybe that's the reason we have the attitude we have about it, because we are old enough to understand some conversations ain't meant to be had when you talk about people who don't know what they talk about. I've heard schoolboys say it. I've heard a lot of the OGs say it. It's more acceptable now than it was back then, because that kind of shit will lead you to you either going to be producing a dog or you can't say shit anyway, because everybody else gonna look at you the same way I am, sideways. Go get a dog. See me when you get a dog. You see where I'm coming from? See me when you get a dog. My man Hemi James said, you're right, they was all over the place, Hemi. I've seen double page advertisements for Sorrells in the Gazette. Who did? Well, no. Oh, yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I seen Maurice a lot of pages too and that shit. Over the years, Sorrells always had the back page. I know Maurice must have been on the other side. Then, then I seen Floyd popping through there. There was a couple of them used to advertise in there. But that's how we knew everything that was going on. That was our only means of communication. Y'all got this shit just in now. It's like right there. Big shout out to my man Marcus B. My man John Johnson said every dog must go to school so that you and I'm and him have a good understanding of what's to come. You know what? And the thing is about that, John, I'm glad you said that, because you know what? If you think about it, it's almost like a learning process, because what the hell is you expecting the dog to show you? Right? And just think, if you was a dog, what you think the dog would be expecting of you? Once you have a relationship with these mugs, y'all will figure that out. You will. And that's the unique part of this game, because little detailed things like that, like my dogs know what time it is when it comes time to feeding them. I always said this, they all day on a schedule. They won't let you forget what time it is. But my thing is, he's exactly right. Y'all schooling each other, but you gotta kind of know what you're looking for, because him as a dog, he can't tell you what he's looking for. But through a relationship, y'all become to, you will definitely become to some type of understanding that will work out great for you. And, there was a lot of great dogs that were sold to other people or went into somebody else's hands, and they always did something different with them. And it's, it's just a blessing to know that you can do that with some of these dogs. You know, Zebo got passed around like a hoe, but it took a special type of pimp to deal with that hoe. Cause that whole fight back, you know. But look, hold on, let me get this thing together right quick here. Who else I got here? My man Chauncey. What's up, Chauncey? Mr. Cecil Jackson, I thought I see you. My man, I seen Marcus, and my man Marcus said, great news. The pit bull ban in PG County has been lifted after 27 years. I seen that earlier today, Marcus. I didn't know that shit was still around like that, where they would still had pit bulls banned in certain places. I didn't know that. I remember it used to be like that in Dade County, but something happened the way they said you just can't single out the pit bull like that. You know, a dog is a dog, and they should all be classified under the same conditions. And I think that's how it went down here in Florida. Don't get me wrong, but that's what I think that was my understanding of it. But to know there was somewhere out here that they still had a ban on pit bulls. Is that they kind of was still like that after how many years? I thought they changed the shit, but I know that PG was I read the story after 20-something years. But yeah. Big shout out to my man Greater Than. What up, fam? But yeah, that's the big thing right there, man. That is a big thing. 27-year ban on bulldogs. Let me see here. I'm just trying to make sure I got everything down here. I'm all caught up. I'm finna turn this over to my man Mo here in a minute.
Why? It's almost 12 o'clock.
Yeah, that's why I can take it out, because I know you got something to say. You gotta say something about your foot. Cut off the thing. No, I didn't say nothing yet.
You did.
Oh, my boss. Yeah, man. That's what I was on tonight. I think it's important that we don't have this conversation enough, or enough not being said. And maybe it's just all about entertainment. You know what I mean? You know, people putting in work, got to find out who's anonymous. Is that what we're doing now, folks? We making up fake channels and shit. You know. Yeah, I'm trying to understand the fake, you know, you want to say what you got to say, but you got to put together a fake, you got to do something fake to get your point across. That's some fake shit. I mean, how can you take anything that comes from somebody who has the name Anonymous serious? To even want to address whatever they're saying. I mean, you can go create an anonymous page and just come back and just say whatever the hell you want to. But now you really can't say whatever you really want to, because if you say the wrong thing, you ain't really anonymous, because they can find you if they want you. Now you got your fly ass out there and you think you could just do and say whatever you want by just saying anonymous. No, it don't really work like that, because they got this shit on Platino where they're going to pull up some shit and they're going to run your ass down. They're going to come run up in you. But we talking about bulldogs. So a lot of people think a lot of us don't really have access to go be trying to find out who Anonymous is. Because that's why we call them anonymous. They can say all the fucked up shit they want. Thing to be bugging me out, though, is how anonymous person can be like, say something that automatically leads to controversy. You know, that's the part I'm kind of missing. Does social media do that? Because I've seen, you know, a lot of times when I see on social media, they say so-and-so died, you know, breaking news type of shit. I got to go through the comments to be like, is this true or not? Because, who the hell would want to put a story like that? Who does shit like that? That's clickbait. I don't know. Again, I'm not really that computer literate to be out here running around here acting like I know how to work on social media. I don't understand all the dumb shit that you do. If that's what gets you, do they get paid for doing shit like that? How can you get paid for out there telling lies and shit? But evidently it it's out there. I've seen enough of it. I don't know how that shit worked, but I'm not into this where I got to try to figure out how and why I need to be, why I got to lie to somebody, why I got to be talking about make up some fake ass shit. Why can't I just be going hard twin or going hard Mike and say what the fuck I want to say? What's wrong with doing that? What the hell would make me want to go make an anonymous page and come back and do what to who? That's what makes it so funny to me, because this is grown folk shit here. These dogs, this is really supposed to be some grown folk shit. You can find yourself in jail spending a lot of time, a whole lot of time. Because I say this game here ain't meant for everybody. It's hard enough back in our day. It should be even worse for today, because the time that's coming behind that shit. Is it really even worth it? For my time period, yes. I can't speak for y'all time period. All I say to my listeners is live by the disclaimer. That's all. Your business ain't everybody's business. Their business definitely ain't your business. So why should you be worried about it? Just simple ways of dealing with shit to just, for me, it all makes sense. Why would you be having to make up pages or doing crazy shit to be seen? How about just putting in the work and then go win, go do something and become a winner. And believe me, you won't have to say much. They're going to say it for you. And then, because you got to give the credit to the dog. Because it's the dog the reason they talking about you. Yeah? That's how that shit work hand in hand. The dog gonna do what it do. But he gonna be the reason they gonna be talking to you. See, greatness has always been about the dogs. But then when you have so many great dogs, you can't help but respect the person who's making them. Got to own up to it. You can hate on it all you want, but hey, I'm always shit. I didn't, I'm pretty sure I didn't think to, when I look back on our history and look at all the good dogs we had, that we were always looking to do better. And I'm pretty sure that every dog man before us and some after us knows exactly what that feels like. That's why my big shout outs and all respect due to all the dog men and the dog women who have put in that work and who has given us reasons to talk about these dogs. Because without them, we wouldn't have nothing to talk about. Papers wouldn't really matter. But as long as they do, that means the possibility of a good dog in the history of this bulldog game continuing regardless of whatever it is that you may do. It's your business, whatever purpose. But the dog is only going to be as good as the person who raises the dog. So for all the ones that's talking about, oh, he's a cur, he wasn't shit. Maybe so. But did you beat that dog? Did you go after that dog? Did you ever really even see the dog? Oh, you just heard about the dog. You wanted them. You see what I'm saying? Man, what one you want to have a conversation? You know, which one you trying? Which one's gonna set for the better conversation? Oh yeah, I like the one that was over there. You know, you was over there before. Yeah, you felt that wrath of that dog. You know, because I hear it so many times. You know what I mean? When the ones be like, "Yeah, I went it to them. They rubbed me, or they cheated, they own the referee." You know, I can respect them. You know what I mean? Because you making excuses for why you got your ass whooped. All right, but at least you was over there, so you get some respect out of me. I'm gonna give you your respect because at least you was over there. Now I just know that I ain't had no reason to do you foul or anything else. You just one of them, you know, losing is hard to do, but I understand that. But at least you was over there. You gotta respect, you know, it's got to be some levels to this shit, even down to that point, right? You gotta be able to understand who we respected and who we ain't respected around this motherfucker. We getting away from what matters. You know what I mean? Now I know competition is supposed to be, you know, something that has been around since the beginning of time. Competition is something that's like part of the history of mankind. It's almost embedded in us. But because we choose to do the things that we do, we still got to have some type of integrity about how we get it done. And I think the more competition you have with the right people having the integrity, the better the game is going to be for everyone. Because competition brings greatness. Anybody ever seen that movie with I think it was Jet Li called The One? You know, that it's like an ideal of, you know, that movie was simple because in the end he was at the top, but he was still having to fight people off the top. He was the one, and he was just gonna make. I am that one. Now, I'm gonna tell him how long he would be able to do it. But ain't nothing wrong with trying to strive for that type of greatness. I never found nothing wrong with that. But maybe because, again, I've always been in the sports. I always wanted to be the baddest, you know, person I could be. That's probably why I went to the Marine Corps. I should have went to the Air Force. Had the hotel rooms and shit. No, I'm out here playing in the damn woods. But yeah. That's what I wanted to get off my chest today. And let's talk about the dogs and the person, the man, the dog man and the dog woman. Let's not forget what makes this game what it is. I mean, does it really matter what somebody has to say about us or our dogs? No. Them days is long gone for us. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of shit, but we had some shit, enough shit that we could talk about it. Enough, I mean, I don't know what a whole lot is, but I know it's more than just one or two. You know, we got some years and years and years. But there's so many guys out there, fellas, that has really done so much more. They just don't get out here and do what we doing. But then that's why we talk about them, the untouchables, the original bounty hunters. So many of them. I mean, golly, man, the list. If I was just to start saying, I mean, I would damn near be naming everybody in the game because they don't do what we do, but that don't mean that they don't deserve their roses, man. And there's so many of them that deserve them roses that every chance we get, we're gonna shout them out. We be all over the place because Mo might run off a quick 10 or 15. Like he's sitting over there telling me, don't forget the Ura, the Westside Ura. He's OG Pods. He find names and shit at me. Don't forget that, because we always try to get some names that, because it be so many, but just some ones that you just want to make sure, fellas, if y'all don't know these people, then you hang around this game long enough and listen to some of these chats, you're going to hear other people talk about these people. Yeah. Yeah, because he was down there with the boot camp clip. They had a lot of good dogs. I mean, but see, you could read about a lot of these guys in the journals. Y'all don't have the journals, but then, you get some of these books. You invest in something. There's nothing wrong with learning the history, because I guarantee you, man, remember, this shit back here has already been done. And ain't nothing that we did that was supposed to be brand new. To me, ain't nothing nobody did was brand new. It was just the quality of the person who was making the decision and doing the right things with them. And when that part worked and you were able to compete and be able to be consistent doing that, then history got a place for you. It does. And it's just good to have that. And it just, for me, I think it's good for us. Believe that, because while we were doing it, believe this, while we were doing it, we was really trying to be just as good as the people we was around. I mean, what fun would it have been to be out there running around with them people and we getting our ass whooped and everybody else winning? What kind of shit is that? Who goes out there just to be around somebody and that's going on? Who does that? That shit don't go. We weren't one of them. No, we was trying to be like them, 90%ers. When we go out, damn it, they jumping on that bandwagon. Guess what? We're gonna do just like they is. Don't worry about it. We bringing it home. Because it's been them moments when everybody got something to say. Mike, tell him to slow it down. Mike, tell him to slow it down. More moving. I used to hear all the damn shit. But I always said, don't worry about it. Mo got this. Because they don't know. They don't know. After a while, everybody catches on. That's just how we were. But if you do it long enough and you find your place in this thing, you will become humble to the rest of the game. You would have to be. Because if you didn't become humble to the game, you would be damn near talking shit to any and everybody who said anything. And what sense does that make? Because 90% of the time, the person you going back and forth with, they ain't never got shit and they ain't never had shit and don't have shit to come back with you on. So is that really worth the conversation, honestly? Nah, because to my audience, what we going to get from it? I think there's enough of that going on, and maybe that's entertaining. It's entertainment. But again, the American Pit Bull Terrier They're a special kind of animal. It's a special kind of dog. And it's not meant for everybody because it's an athlete. It's a prize when you got the right one doing, doing whatever they're doing, because they're going to be all, some type of, in their own way, exceptional animals doing what they do. Now, we're going to be back here Friday. And before Mo get out of here, I'm going to let him tell you because he got to get out of here. But got some things that he's got to be dealing with here. And let me get him in the room right quick. Hey, hit that button over there, Mo. Yeah. That's the stage. Let me cut mine off. All right. You in now. Go ahead and say something.
What you want? What's going on? What up, y'all? Just stopping in. What's up? Well, I told you how my foot was. A little thing with my foot. It's still bothering me, so I go to the hospital yesterday. And somewhere around they missed when I went there, and they told me my foot was broke, but the blood had been cut off to my pinky toe. They missed that because almost 30 days later, because of the problem I've been having, I go back to the emergency room and they tell me that my pinky toe has not been getting any blood and it has started dying. And the best way to keep the rest of my foot from getting infected, that they're going to have to amputate my pinky toe. So, that's been a shock to me. I don't know. I ain't pissed because I know it's got to be done. So I'm going to deal with that. But, I've definitely been in pain enough to have to go back. And thank God I did go back because it could have been worse if I hadn't went when I did. Could have got worse. Went to my other feet, parts of my leg. It said it was caused by the break in my foot that actually cut the blood off. On top of the fact, we're going to start that. On top of the fact that I have blood coming from my left side to my right side. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be the last place, going to always be the last place to get the blood. So we're already stealing from the left side to help the right side. So that's where we at. I go and have surgery next Thursday. I might not be here Friday. I'm still deciding because I don't know if my foot can take a ride. I'm trying to hope it do. But if it don't, I'll be here Friday. So that's why I've been laying back, because I've been in pain for this broken foot. I have dogs. I cannot be running around in crutches. They don't want me to be walking on it at all. And I got dogs. I can't do that. So maybe I'm bringing a lot of this on myself because of the dogs, but hey, you know how it is. So everybody, I know I'm going to get to everybody's prayers and the lookout. I'm going to appreciate it. But I just wanted y'all to know and bring y'all up to date. So y'all know what's up. You might. You see my Oh, okay. Well, I'm cool now. Anything else?
They don't hear me. Come on.
Yeah. So, hey, man. I'll be up on this thing probably when I get done with all this stuff that I'm dealing with. So I guess I'll be in the back street. I'll be watching. Might doing pretty good. You know, it's hard to be doing that when I'm taking medicine and all this other stuff on top of all the other issues I got. So I just want y'all to bear with me and let me keep hanging in there with y'all. I'm still scratching. You know, I'm still making down there on the 6th, the 8th.
December.
The 8th of December, yeah, I'm going to still be there.
Try to.
At least try to, yeah. Curry James Jones, yeah, we still got dogs. They still made their dogs. You know, when we talk about, you know, certain dogs, you just got to catch which ones, because I definitely put them up. You know, there's dogs out there. You know, I even got some Malinois I'm trying to let go. Definitely. I got 2 females left. I got the mama and I got her daughter. So I'm trying to get rid of them because I can't take care of the dogs as much as I used to. So this is where I got, you know, that. Remember at the beginning of all this, I said all it takes me to have is 10 good dog men. That's what I work on. I work on getting them 10 good dog men and take the dogs that, you know, we're still able to go out and make certain breedings and have certain lines of dogs that somebody's going to be blessed with. You know, because I can't do it no more, but that doesn't mean my mind don't work and you know, and making the right breedings. That's the key. I gotta have the dogs. So that works out because I've learned and met a lot of good people out there. You know, and some of them people got some of you to the list. But you know, as we go, I guess the list will grow. But I think I'm gonna put those 2 females on Facebook, you know, because they ain't none of these dogs outside dogs. You know, these dogs are inside Malinois, so you don't have no intentions on taking them and finishing up their training and bringing them in your house where they're gonna be safe and y'all gonna be safe. You know, those are the type of dogs, you know, that need to be in the house and continue doing what they were bred and trained to do. The mom is definitely a train. Her daughter, she haven't been cut on yet because I'm keeping her social. But as far as training, she's housebroke. She knows simple things. You know, I teach my dogs commands. They're not regular sits and lay down type shit. You know, I have certain words that they learn. You know, they've been trained in the house as far as behavior. All my dogs go, if I have them in their cages to eat, you know, they all sit there and wait until everybody's served, until I get a magic word to let everybody take off them out of their corner and go eat their food. So these are just things that they have to deal with and go through every day. So it's like a process that they're trained to do, you know? So they're good dogs, but my health is getting worse. And I'm getting to the point that, you know, I'm not going to be able to take care of them like I want to take care of them. So I'm going to get down to, you know, to this me and chaos and have time to be able to travel around to where all the other dogs are and get my support and help out and, you know, with the guys that's got them. So y'all know this day was coming, but I'm still here doing the show.
Yeah. I can take it from here then, Mo. Because, wait a minute. Does your avatar get like my avatar? But in any case, thanks for stopping by, Mo. You know, I try to let him give you his own bad news because he always making me feel like I be doing it, make things worse than what he tried to say they ain't. But we all knew this time was gonna come, and we getting to that point and moment to where, you know, we still love the dogs, but age will creep up on your ass, and you just got to do what's right by the dogs, even at our age. So if God permits you to live as long and you still be dealing with these dogs, you'll see what we're talking about. It's a process. But we still here doing this. We still gonna be we're doing a lot of different things. You know, a lot of things that you notice that we don't do, that now that we fixing to, you know, kind of like, I could say, dial back, you know, give us time to sit down and maybe do a lot of little other things like, you know, get some thumbnails and change the damn show around a little bit. Get out of town and do live shows other places and meet other people and just enjoy this little bit of whatever life that we got left doing something we love to do. And hopefully we can get out there and share with everybody along the way. But like I said, it's a process, you know, all this even for us. Remember, this is all something new. So we're going to take it for what God give us and make the best out of it and try to make sure that we fulfill that one need that we needed to get off our chest and say we did all we could do and tried to be the best at what we did by passing it forward. You know what I'm saying? Give the recognition where it was due, whether, you know, some people look at it and you can have whatever you want to say about it, but we try to remind you that, hey, fellas, there's nothing in the past that you can go back and change. You can hear all the stories you want, but if you do your homework, a lot of shit that sounds crazy, it really is because it's crazy. You know, it just no explanation to the shit. So why try to explain something that just is not worth explaining? And then who you trying to explain it to? Who you trying to convince? There's just some things that's just not worth the conversation, and that's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is leave behind our part and saying, damn, Twin did say that. You know, give you some type of reference point where you can just go back and see for yourself. Now, what everybody tell you, how about just go researching some of the information that you hear and then make your own decision? And if it has anything to do with you, then who's more informed than the person who's doing and taking care of the business? That's where you know, it pays to be a good person. You know, that's where integrity comes along. That's where honor comes. You know, that's where the love of the game comes from, based off the person that you become. Your dogs are a representation of you. You wouldn't even be worth nobody talking to if it don't be for what you did with the dogs. Ain't that way? Anybody who does this, ain't that way y'all trying to be? Even for the people who selling dogs. You selling dogs just because you sold 200 dogs. I mean, all right, you sold 200 dogs, and out of them 200 dogs, how many of them turned out to be about anything? Let's look at the numbers. Because most of the time when you're selling dogs, you really don't give a damn who you're selling the dogs to, which means there's where the watered down shit comes from. Because now, and everybody's trying to do it, and they think the paper's going to take up for what the dog's supposed to be, and the dog ain't shit because you really ain't shit. And then it could be the other way around. You know, dogs is about that life, and the man who got the dogs is about that life. He made the dogs. There you go. It's just a different scenario. It's just depending on what side of the, you know, the bed you're trying to wake up on. But it all gonna boil down to the person and the one that's doing the work. If you're doing the work with the right dog, you're going to be okay. But you don't have to say much. And that, to me, that's what's important in today's conversation. Sometimes we tend to forget about that. Because I seen just somewhat of a conversation, might have been on Facebook. And I was just watching just how things move today. And it's almost like, okay, that part shouldn't even really matter. Because again, the only reason we really talk about these dogs or a certain person with the dogs is because they worth talking about. If the dog wasn't shit, then we wouldn't be talking about that particular dog. See, some dogs, you know, like people say Mayday wasn't shit. Okay, you're gonna have them people out there. But I'd be wondering, out of all the people that I've heard say that, Mayday only had 5 matches. You wasn't one of them. And before Mayday left the United States, he did have 17 champions. And they never showed up on none of them. And then when he got over into Ecuador and all the other shit that he had coming up out of Ecuador and all them wins, your name didn't fall up under none of them. So what are you basing your conversation on? Which takes me back to what I was telling you about the watered down shit. Sometimes it does matter who has the dog. Just because it was off of Mayday didn't mean it was going to be the shit. But in the early days, you know, all of them got out of them 17. They had littermate brothers and sisters, and there's certain, you don't hear about some of their littermate brothers and sisters. You hear about Mayday's littermate brother, littermate sister, but you never hear about a littermate brother. You hear about his sisters, but where the brother at? He didn't turn out like the rest of them. That seems to be fair. It happens. It happens. But you got to give credit where credit is due when there's, you know, there's so many more that did make it. So I always felt like, and I still feel like, give me the dog and give me the right dog man, and they're going to give you something to talk about. And don't really have to say much themselves because the talk is going to be done for them. And I appreciate that part of the game simply because that's why you have pedigrees, pets online. You want to brag about what you got. Looks even better when you brag about what you got and you're out there winning ADBA shows, APDR shows, South Bottom shows, Tom Garner pig picking shows. I mean, those are just people who's doing the work, and if they put in the work and getting out there doing they do, they're gonna have something to talk about. I mean, I wouldn't give a damn if it was wasn't but the digital dog show. At least you're doing something. And that's just based on 2 things: the dog and the person with the dog. Because that's where this game has always mattered. Everything else, the bullshit, it's all about a part of the game. So it's about what part of the fence you plan on playing on. I want to give a big shout out to my man Nazrat. Welcome to the ain't seen you in a while, Nazrat. What up, man? He said, to twins, I tried reaching out when you first started feeling bad. Me and my girl here been fighting cancer, and we did some different things, and it would be more than happy to contact you, sir, in the help. Well, Nazareth, I really appreciate you reaching out like that, fam. I really do. Hey, man, hit that email, and if you hit that email with your number, man, I promise you, we would definitely return your call. Definitely. Because, you know, me, myself, I dealt with the cancer situation. I no more got a stepdaughter. He deals with cancer. You know, cancer is a terrible thing. It's terrible. I think my man Eli Monster, his wife is dealing with it. So it's one of them things where, you know, we all have our little issues, and just to have people that's in the community that's willing to reach out there. Because I tell Eli, anytime that he, you know, need to talk to somebody, man, just pick up the phone and call me. And my door is always open to him. And I really appreciate that, Nazareth, to just know that you out there. You know, we always have our different things about when it comes to these dogs, but this is something, you know, man to man. And I know you're a good dog, man, to even consider, you know, reaching out like that, because that's from your heart. Ain't got nothing to do with the dogs. That's just you, the person. And I appreciate that, fam. It's well appreciated. I hear you say right there, you said, I do me and do Hemi, do me a favor. Let me know what the twins say if they want me to try and contact them again. I'm on the road, so I can't listen to the whole time. Thanks, bud. Well, Hemi, you let him know when he get a chance to play this back so I can tell him, yeah, looking forward to hearing from you, fam. Hit that email when you get a chance. It's on that ticket to run across the bottom. I'm looking forward to talking to you, fam. Appreciate that, Hemi. All right, fellas, we're going to get time for me to try to get up out of here. But hopefully, I know Moby, if he up to it, you know. But either way, I got this. I got this. Because, see, I'm going to go back in and do what I do as far as I take y'all on a history lesson and really show you what I mean by, you know, talking about the men and the dogs. Because remember, we can always go in and hit certain people, but there's so many other guys that you probably haven't heard of. And in order for me to be able to do that, I got to go back into some of these journals. When I go back into some of these journals and start pulling out these familiar names, and it's only going to be familiar to you because you're going to find them so much doing what we were all doing. You know what I mean? And be like, dang, I didn't know that. And our circle is a big circle, true enough. But I got to be able to at least show y'all, you know, that a lot of this history that we talk about, we can never get back because we're living in different times. So it's important that you just appreciate that. I mean, me personally, I still appreciate everything that Floyd and Kobe and all them boys back there, Leitner. Now, I'm not trying to go down the list, but y'all know where I'm coming from. You think about what they did. That's like, you remember when the NBA first started? We had the NBA and the ABA. Y'all remember? I mean, and I'm old enough to try to remember a lot of this shit because I was a little kid when the NBA and Dr. J and all of them became a part of the NBA. I was a little kid then, but I was born when that happened and how much it changed the NBA. But then I read the stories about how baseball was, how football was, and how them things changed. You got to be able to respect the past to appreciate your future. And that's just coming from an old mouth. You know, and I got to take, I think I'm old. I might live to hopefully to 70, maybe 80, just, you know, anything over 80, that's a little bit much, even though I ain't got no control over it. But, you know, a little bit much. I don't need, you know, I've seen people at 80, they still getting around, but then, you know, life is pretty much, you know, on that end. You know, I ain't trying to have nobody wiping my ass, or, you know, and all that other shit that comes along with getting old. Y'all know where I'm coming from. But I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna scratch until I can't. But these are the things that's important. I want y'all guys to understand just how important this bulldog game can be to some of us, especially for us, because we sit here and we doing something that, you know, not too many people will get out there and do. And that is actually sit here and talk about it to the degree of talking about it. I wish some old guys would come out the back street and come up and just really talk about it. But not everybody has that in them to do what we do. But if we don't talk about it, then y'all have a tendency of not knowing it or forgetting. And then ain't nobody writing no books. The least we could do is at least get it on tape. If you want to really know, go find the damn twin shit. At least we did that part right. So, fellas, I know it wasn't like I'm trying to just get it down to getting up out of here, and I don't want y'all to feel like this is a history lesson, because it basically is not a history lesson. It's just it's like a public service announcement. Me addressing the issue that needs to be addressed before it gets, you know, before we get away from the reality of what's real. And what's real is this dog game ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't gonna be shit without the dog. And unless you know what you're doing, the dog ain't gonna be shit without you. And if that is what this game has always consisted of, then we need to really get that part back right. Because that's where the success of the dogs have always been. That's why we can talk about them. That's why we can talk about the people behind them. Yep, dog name's going to change over the years. Dogmen's name's going to change over the years. But let's not let this get to the point to where, come on now. We got a register of merit list that ain't changed over 20, 30 years. Will it ever really matter going into the future? Will it really ever matter? I don't know, because I can't tell you what the future look like. But one thing I can tell you, as long as there's a dog and a dog man, we're always going to have great dogs. It's just a matter of who's going to be the dog and who's going to be the man behind the dog. Put in that, get out there and put in that work. Might be you one day. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to give a big shout out to my man, World Flat Web. Let me see who else. Big shout out to my man, SFK Fred. I see you, fam. All right, Nazrat, appreciate that. He said, I caught it, sir. I will contact you tomorrow. All love. Look forward to talking to you. Looking forward to you too, Nazrat. Appreciate that, fam. Let me see who this is. I got. Big shout out to my man, Pit Dog. Big shout out to my man, Mr. Robert Mack. He said, twin, Mr. Mo, you got this. Appreciate that, fam. Big dog. So yo, salute JSK, Simplify, brother. Always and forever, baby. Always and forever. World Flat Web. Hey man, I'll be on that shit too though. He said, everybody know NASA is a lie. I'm a conspiracy theorist also. Pilots operate on a non-rotating stationary plane. Crazy SpaceX owes me. I got you though, World Flat Web. Hey, and I know, and the moon is hollow too. It's a satellite. That's what it is. It's a big ass satellite. Yeah. But big shout out to my man Skip Bell. I feel you, fam. But yeah, man, look here, y'all. Y'all stay safe. You know, keep doing the right thing with the dogs. I just think it's important that the more people that's doing it, the better off, you know, the dogs are going to be, because competition is what got us this far. And competition will keep, you know, keep this sport the way it has always been able to succeed, because it's always going to be about the dog. It's always going to be about the man with the dog. Just don't let some of the bad shit that happens that comes along with this shit. You know what I'm saying? Always check your chains, collars, cameras. You know, just love the dog. So in that way, when all else fails, the love of the dogs will take care of the rest. Everything else is just a part of the game. But that love for the dogs, that's a personal thing. That's between you and the dogs. And that's that special attention that I wish any and everybody had. Because that's where your success is going to come from. And I ain't me just talking. I can prove it. That's so the reason why I say what I say, because I know we can prove it. And how can we prove it? Because we did just like everybody else who taught us. We did exactly what they did. So if you do what I'm saying, telling you to do, and can show you why we were able to do it, and you just put in that same type of work, there is no reason why you wouldn't have the same type of success, regardless of what the purpose was. Still going to be based on the dog and the man with the dog. So I know I'm hammering that home enough, and I hope it just actually rings as, you know, a light bulb going off in your head, like ding, because it really truly is, you know, honestly, that simple. And the only reason it's simple because you're going to make it simple, because you're going to take responsibility of your work, your decisions, your choices. And if you want it bad enough and you put in the work, you're going to be able to succeed, guaranteed. I ain't want to be guaranteeing a bunch of shit, but I can guarantee that, because if we were able to do it and there was other people doing it before we did it, where the hell you think we got it from? And if some of the people do half of shit we tell them to do now, you're going to find yourself in the same situation. So again, it's not much really to talk about if you're doing it, because the rest will take care of itself. You won't have to talk about it. Everybody else will. And that's where I'm at. So fellas, do me, you know, give me a big shout out. You know, because I know I'm finna get out of here. And what do I need? I'm going to tell you what I need. I need y'all to help me out and give me some damn thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Muscles, muscles, muscles. Now, give your damn self some roses, roses. My bulldog community needs some damn roses. Show yourself some love, because you showed up. You showed up. And anytime you show up, I know you're showing out because you're here. And I want you to know I appreciate everybody for doing that. And again, I will be back here Friday for sure. I know I'm gonna be here. I don't know if Mo gonna be here, but we gonna be doing this day. We know we just gonna play him by ear until this operation is over. Hey, well, I see Deion Sanders. He got a couple toes cut off, and he still be walking straight, upright, and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'll be, joking with Mo. He gonna be walking to the side and shit. Like walking a certain type of way because he's gonna be missing that toe. But I don't need bullshit with him because he was really trying not to let him take his toe off. But I've seen the shit, and it's so damn bad. I remember when we was down at the dog show, and we first happened, and me and him was going and got to the airport, and we down here in Tampa Airport, and we got to go all the way, across the airport to even get on the damn bus to ride us out to get to the gate. And he could barely even walk. And I said, this is not going to work because you got to make it through the whole weekend. I said, I don't know how you plan on doing this. But like I said, he told you, Jesse and them, they was, just good people. We was using all types of shit. We was rolling them around, and the closing, where you in the hotel where you take and put your bags on, where you had the one you put your carry-ons and your luggage on it, and it just had the wheels on it. Well, we had more using that motherfucker because we was using it as a wheelchair. But it was just funny because, at what point does you say, damn, twin, is it that serious? Yeah, believe it or not, it is really that serious for us. Because there is no reason why I would be breaking my neck just to get back here, just to get on this mic, if it don't be for the fact that if I feel like I'm letting somebody down by not showing up, then that means I don't love it enough. When I stop caring about you guys. And maybe that's just because who we are. It does matter. Just being, straight up with you. It really does matter. You really got to love this game. And if you love it, and a lot of you guys out there love it, because I see y'all all the time. I mean, who actually sits around in a dog, pit bull podcast? I see a lot of new faces out there, and everybody's showing up. So always support each other, regardless of whatever the conversation be. There's always arguments in the family, but it's like family too. There's some things that need to be checked, and only one's going to get to checking and have some type of responsibility. I would always think it would be the OGs to this. Don't let them, family-wise, especially when it comes to my family, I mean, I'm not going to let you fuck it up. That's how I be letting, mine know. And I got a big-ass family. And I ain't talking about just my immediates. I'm talking about family. Cousins and cousins with cousins and nephews and cousins. If you consider family, I mean, you're family, which means, everybody with family, there's going to be some rules and stipulations as a family. And you got to know your place. And sometimes in family, you got to remember now, there's a higher, it's levels to this family shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like any family. There's levels to this shit. And that's just the way we feel about the dogs, There's levels to this shit. Just a matter of how serious do you take it. Remember, we just talk about dogs, but to some of us, that's a whole lot. That means a whole lot more than you can possibly imagine, because who the hell is going to do this and not love it? How could you even have them if you're not going to take care of them? I mean, that's for the love of the game, baby. And there's enough of us to share that love. So I appreciate y'all with the thumbs. Hey, look, it's getting short on that time now. Just a couple more of them thumbs up. Just a couple more of them thumbs up. Just a little couple more of them roses. Couple muscles here and there. Even if you got to throw one, it's all about the appreciation. Because that's all I look for. Them little things like that. It's not the super chats. It's not the super stickers. It's not even the donations. It's not even the views. It's the fact, for me, it's just the fact that you show up. And even if it wasn't but 10 people in here or one person, I would not let that one person down because they did show up. And that's the thing that I love about this game. All you got to do is show up and let the rest take care of itself. If you ain't showing up, then hey, what we got to talk about? Nothing. RBG Lone Wolf, Skip Bell, hear me. Pit Dog, I see y'all, fam. I'm going to get ready. Second. Let me get this thing right here. I did, like I said, we will definitely be back here Friday. I know he will be. I know he'll be Tuesday. I know his operation is next week. So, in any case, big shout out to all you guys. Thank you again for showing up. Keep bulldogging. Again, Bulldog and the man. Remember, this can come in so many different ways, but still, I told you about our camp. Our camp consists of more than just me and Mo. We got a KP, just likes being back there to be as this KP. We call him the modern day Earl Tudor. But for us, that's family. Ben. That's family. And we all made that choice to be a part of something. We all put in the work and did our part to be a part of something. So in the long run, it's not just about us. Not me and just Mo. It's about Going Hard Kennels. And Going Hard Kennels really did consist of more than just me and Mo. We're just the only ones up here talking about it. So big shout out to the GHK. Y'all know who y'all is. And just hopefully y'all can take these conversations and take out what you want to take out. Just do what you need to do to make it work. Because I look forward to seeing what the future is going to look like. But I'm not sitting around waiting on it. I'm trying to be a part of it. So until Friday, Friday. Y'all stay safe. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sitting here talking about Mo and his situation. I got to have surgery in the next 2 weeks, my damn self. I got to get some damn stents put in my shit. They said I'm losing. I can't even walk no more, y'all. I can't even walk a block. And they told me I don't have enough blood going to my leg. So me and Mo basically going through the same thing. My toe just ain't falling off. But as we run along through this little, tour guide got us on, we're gonna stay blessed. You know what I'm saying? And as long as we can get here, and just know we're gonna always try to get here because we owe that to y'all. If we weren't gonna do right by it, then we should have never started this shit. That's how we look at it. That's how we feel about it. And that's how we gonna go out, because we always believe this. Truly believe this. I hope you can feel me when I say this. God damn it, we always scratch the win. For real, for real. We ain't talking about it. We really trying to be about it. Till Friday, y'all stay safe. Stay safe. Peace. I'm gonna let this rock out, all right? Yeah, yeah.